Matildas have really gone from strength to strength over the last few decades. Football Australia runs the game in this country, but they couldn't have done it and probably wouldn't have done it and progressed and pushed the women's game as far as they've gone if it wasn't for the work and the strategising of the PFA, Professional Footballers Australia, the Player Association. Now, the Matildas have been asked to contribute to an anonymous survey to give their feedback on how they thought the campaign went for them, what they thought of the facilities and the structure around the Matildas camp. That verdict is in. I caught up with the co-CEO of the PFA to talk about that. She's a former Matilda herself, a former captain of the Matildas, Kate Gill. Now, the PFA have put out the most comprehensive public report ever about the Matildas and their competition at an international event, being the FIFA 2023 World Cup. Overall, the results are pretty good, aren't they? I wonder if there were any points that stood out for you that require a lot of work, or is the work now just catching up and heading towards equality?
Yeah, look, Chase, it's a great question. And I think for us, it was about really kind of delving into the players' insights and expertise and kind of learning from them as to what made them so successful in the tournament and what made the tournament a success, with a bit of an idea around future-proofing how we maintain the momentum of the Matildas and also build the next generation. So I think the main takeaways from the report probably focus on the 4 key recommendations that were made, which you rightly identified is the equalisation of prize money for the Women's World Cup, which the Matildas have been strong advocates for. And obviously we heard from Gianni Infantino that there would be an increase in 2023 and that come the 2026-2027 cycle, it would be equal, but that's obviously contingent on the commercial realities being reached as well. And for us, the feedback from the players is that needs to be unconditional and seen as an investment and is something that should happen sooner rather than later, given the size of FIFA's reserves and their ability to equalise that pretty much straight away if they want to. The other element for the players is particularly around the professionalisation of the A-League women's competition. The report kind of speaks to the amount of Matildas that have come through that competition and how we saw in the lead up to the 2023 World Cup, we really only had 3 Matildas still active within the league. But prior to that, I think we had 20 out of the 23 squad that went to the World Cup prior. So it's how we can continue to lay the foundation within the A-League women's competition to make sure that we're sustaining our international success and we have a pipeline of talent through that pathway. And then the solidarity funding was another element of the report, of particular interest, I would say, to the clubs predominantly, and making sure that could be equalised as well. And this is obviously a global conversation and FIFA would have the ability to do so. As it sits at the moment, those clubs who prepare the players for the Women's World Cup are remunerated, but not at the same level as the men. It's about 5.5%, the solidarity funding in comparison to what the men receive, and understanding that money then trickles back to the clubs that the players were in prior to the tournament and also their junior clubs, so through their formative years as well. So if we could equalise that amount of funding, that would have a big impact on grassroots community and also the professional game. And then the last one was just around the voice of the players in the scheduling. And this probably comes from a global context around the women's international match calendar and for players being able to advocate for a genuine rest period that's built in to the calendar. And then also trying to strike a balance between those players that are probably getting maxed out at the top end and playing an incredible amount of match minutes and being asked to travel quite a long way as well. And then those players that, because their national teams aren't as active or their domestic competitions aren't as strong, are getting underloaded. So they were probably the 4 key call-outs based on the players' feedback, and then obviously where the industry is shaping. So the report's really there to shine a light on those. And I think if we can make some movement in those areas, then we will be setting ourselves up for success well into the future.